Good afternoon, my name is Alex and welcome to today's IELTS analysis class, where I'll be looking at a task from the IELTS exam and analysing it to find the answers, which hopefully you will have come to find as well whilst working on them in the Facebook group. So hello to those of you who are watching this class live. Let me know in the chat box if you are watching live. And do feel free to participate and answer questions as the class progresses. It's good when these are as interactive as possible. And for those who are watching the recording of the class, hopefully you have had a look at the task beforehand so that you will be able to get as much out of this video as possible. So let's have a look at the task that I will be analysing today. And we will see that it focuses on a graph. In this case specifically, we're looking at a bar chart. And of course, we can see that if we look at the top here, it tells us that it's a bar chart, and we can see that by looking as well at the information in the chart. So what we have here then is a description of the chart. We can see that in the 4 sentences. And from these descriptions, we want to be able to label these different items in the bar chart. Now, this is a useful exercise because it's important that when you do your writing for the IELTS Part 1, that your descriptions are clear enough that someone who is reading your response would be able to understand exactly what is happening in the chart. And so that is the key. If these descriptions are clear enough, then we should be able to label the chart correctly. So let's see if we can do that. So hello to Zia and Alice. Great to see you in the class today. It's always great to see you guys. So feel free to participate and let me know what you think the answers are to the questions. So let's have a look at, first of all, the sentence here, the first sentence. And this sentence is referring to milk and it's referring to pasta. So we don't have any information for milk or pasta. All we have is information for tomatoes. So it makes sense to leave that until a bit later. The next sentence we have refers to chicken and milk. Again, we don't have any information for either. So let's move on to the 4th sentence. And here it says producing a serving of tomatoes. Okay, great. We've got tomatoes. We know what tomatoes, the value of tomatoes is. Takes less than a quarter of the water needed to produce a serving of pasta. Okay, so it takes a less than a quarter. That's our key phrase of the water needed to produce a serving of pasta. So the serving of pasta then will be more than 4 times the amount. It will require more than 4 times the amount of water to produce a serving of it than is required for tomatoes. So which one then of these values relates to pasta? Let me know what you think. In the meantime, Zara, Al, and Cheryl, welcome to the class. Thanks for saying hi. Great to see you in the class today. Does anyone have a suggestion then? Which of these values refers to pasta? So tomatoes takes less than a quarter of the water needed to produce a serving of pasta, which means that producing of pasta requires more than 4 times the amount of water to produce a serving of tomatoes. This would mean that the value for pasta would be, according to this description, 160. So we can write that just in here, because 36 is less than a quarter of 160. A quarter of 160 would be 40. So we have to do a little bit of maths. Let's just make this bigger. just so it's really clear. So we have to do a little bit of maths, but not too much. A quarter of 160 would be 40, and for tomatoes it's less than a quarter, and so the value for pasta is 160. Okay, so moving on. Let's see if we can determine some of these other values. We now have the value for tomatoes and pasta, but let's see. Producing a serving of oranges takes nearly twice as much water as producing a serving of tomatoes. So tomatoes has the lowest value, nearly twice as much. Well, that would be just here, wouldn't it? That would be 60, because twice as much would be 62. Again, we do a little bit of maths. 36 times 2 is 62. And so since it's nearly twice as much, it's not quite twice as much, then the answer is 60. And that's what we have there for oranges. Okay, let's make that plural. So we have 2 more to complete now. And from the previous sentences, oops, didn't mean to do that. From the previous sentences, we should see that what is left is milk and pasta. But we got pasta already. Sorry, what is left is milk and chicken, rather. Okay, this is what we have left. So since we have pasta already, we should be able to get the value of milk. So it says it takes nearly 50% more water to produce a glass of milk than it does to produce a serving of pasta. So 50% more milk, more water, produce milk than to produce pasta. Nearly 50% more is what it says. So 50% of 160 is 80. So that would mean that we'd have 240. But it says nearly 50% more, not quite 50% more. So 220 is a good value for milk. And then finally, we only have one left, and that's chicken. And let's confirm that is correct. It says it takes over 6 times as much water to produce a serving of chicken as it does to produce a glass of milk. So over 6 times as much. So what's 220 times 6? Now the maths gets a little bit more complicated, but we don't have to worry too much about the maths here. We can see clearly that the value 1,470 is significantly more than 220, and so this would be chicken in our final value here. So this is what we should have got for the task. And hopefully you answered the questions in the same way and you got the same responses. So let's see. So Zia, 60, you've put 61. Is that you referring to oranges there, Zia? Because that refers to oranges, doesn't it? The value of 60. Ria Grace, hi. Glad you came to the class today. And Zia, 220 milk, 1,470 chicken. Yes, absolutely. A bonus point for you if you can tell me, what is 6 times 220? Because that one's, I think I need a pen and paper actually to determine that. Let me see if I can work it out. 10 times 220 would be 2,200. 5 times would be 1,100. So add another 220. That'd be 1,320. Is that correct? Let me know if that is correct. I think that would be 6 times the value of milk, would be 1,330 rather, I think. 1,320, I believe, or something of that nature. But either way, it says that it takes over 6 times as much water to produce chicken. So that's why we got a value of 1,470. So those were the answers to the task. Zia, you agree? Thank you very much. Good. So I can still remember a little bit from my maths classes. So as I say, I hope the class today was useful. As I say, ensure that the sentences that you write in your writing task 1 are clear, just like these sentences are, so that the reader would not need to see the graph in order to understand what is being written. That's really important for writing task 1. You must make your descriptions really clear to the reader. And this is an example of how we can do that. So until our next class, take care and have a great day.